Hi, I'm Laura Cox Kaplan. Welcome to She Said podcast. Here on this podcast, we talk about the building blocks and the micro habits that help us create real and lasting influence. What do I mean by that? Well, we're talking about the kind of influence that helps you achieve your goals and whatever it is in life that you want to accomplish. But perhaps most importantly, it's the type of influence that helps you create real impact and that enables you to truly thrive. Hey friend, welcome to episode 296 of She Said podcast. I have been taking a bit of a break from the podcast this summer over the past few weeks. I have been spending time working on new content and a new project and some other ways that I hope I can continue to add some value to you. But even during breaks from recording, and I have to say, I miss it so much. I miss sitting here every week and talking to you and getting your feedback on episodes. But as I am thinking about content, I often run across some great ideas that I think are perfect for mini episodes, or maybe something that I have found particularly helpful myself, and I can't wait to share it. And since for so many of us, summer provides a bit more space to really think and reflect and assess, I think you're going to enjoy this mini episode and hopefully will find what I'm sharing with you really helpful. I would love to hear what you think. I am aiming to create a few more episodes like this one before restarting interviews this fall. So I hope you find this one and those helpful, but be sure to let me know. Okay, let's start with a question. When was the last time you reviewed the goals and resolutions that you set for yourself back in January? Now, I'm not necessarily talking about your business and professional goals, although in some cases, those goals might also fall into this category. I'm really talking about those personal goals that you may have set for yourself. Now, depending upon which studies you happen to believe, around 60% of us set goals and resolutions for the new year. This is often sparked by the massive amounts of content from advertisers and marketers about our renewed priorities and the importance of renewing priorities at the new year. What we don't talk about as much, maybe at all, is the importance of reviewing those goals and those resolutions at the mid-year point, essentially right now in midsummer. But why is that? I was pondering this question and I pulled out my own list and revisited a podcast that I did back in early January of this year. It's episode 277. In that episode, I discuss one of my favorite goal setting tools. Feel free to go back and listen to that full episode. I've included a link where you can find it easily in the show notes for this episode. For a lot of people, goal setting is an exercise of making a list of things to do or habits that they want to break or behaviors that they want to work on or maybe improve. Maybe it's a mindset shift that a person wants to make. Nothing wrong with any of that. It's all great. Unfortunately, though, most people, I'm sad to say, don't actually accomplish those goals. And there can be many reasons for that. But one of the biggest is that they fail to connect those goals to something that is more fundamentally important to their core values and their beliefs. Essentially, establishing why that goal is so important. Without that clear why, goals tend to remain more superficial and less meaningful. But when they're connected to that bigger purpose, they tend to gain more mental real estate and can become more doable, not to mention more transformative. So, today I want to share a few ways to make a mid year goal recalibration even more impactful for you. My first tip is, first of all, go back and review your list. Ask yourself, how does this tie into something bigger? As I talk about in episode 277, my favorite goal setting technique is to pick a word or maybe a concept for the year that can ultimately provide an overarching theme for me as I am setting my goals. This year, my focus has been on lightening up or to get lighter. And this was a really good one for me because it enabled me to build some specific goals across a number of different areas, from my health, as in losing a few pounds, getting lighter in that respect, but also to clear out clutter, picking specific sections of my closet and finding items that could be donated or resold or maybe used by someone else. Because space, the word space was my word of the year in 2023. This year's goal also ties into that concept as well, because clearing the clutter helps me gain valuable brain space. And this is important for stress management, for having more time for the people and priorities in my life that are most important. That is how it ties into the bigger values piece for me. Now, I do want to be clear, my success has been mixed, and I can't say that I've knocked every single goal out of the park, but this technique is what helps me stay with that goal, and it helps me keep from ultimately forgetting about the goal altogether. It gives that goal essentially a certain stickiness where I am much more inclined to continue to refer back to it, and I find it incredibly valuable. Now, my second best practice for mid year goal recalibration is to celebrate the progress in those micro wins. As I go back and look at the goals that I set, I'm looking at any progress that I've made, areas of my closet that I managed to clean out. I sold a bunch of stuff on a resale website. And so I can look at that and actually the monetary benefit that I gained from both decluttering and also sharing something with someone who can use it, which is a win win. As you go back and review your list, think about any progress that you've made, even limited progress, and really celebrate that. And maybe spend a few minutes thinking about why you were or maybe were not able to make more progress. Did your priorities shift, for example, or did something maybe insurmountable happen in your life? All good reasons, but it's important to be really clear on them and not be too hard on yourself if you haven't completely knocked it out of the park. All good reasons, but it's important to be really clear on those because my next best practice relates to relevance. Sometimes our goals can be overtaken by life events. So ask yourself, do these goals that I set for myself back in January still make sense? Mid-year can be a great time to just reevaluate them and potentially do a hard reset. Doing that can also, again, help with self awareness, clarity, and motivation so you haven't lost anything. My fourth tip relates to accountability and ultimately sharing your progress. It can be really helpful to talk to trusted friends, to family, to your mentors about your goals. And getting that outside perspective can provide you with important insights that maybe you've missed or overlooked. Doing that also has an additional benefit. Asking someone for help not only illustrates your humility, but it also validates the other person because you are showing them that you value their opinion and input. Now, for me, I also try to share my goals, some of them, and my progress on Instagram, which I have found to be an endless source of great advice and inspiration from followers, especially as I cleaned out my closets. Trust me, there is so much more for me to tackle, but what progress I did make was even more fun because I was actually sharing it and creating content in the process. Finally, if a goal no longer serves you, let it go. That is not the same thing as failure. It's actually a sign of growth. Replacing that goal, maybe with a new one that better reflects your current priorities and aspirations, can be really cathartic and it can help really boost your motivation as you look at the next 6 months of the year. The bottom line here, it's important to remember that goal setting is all about the journey, much more than the destination. It's about learning and adapting and really working to become the best version of ourselves, however we choose to define that. By refocusing on the why behind our goals, by embracing change, by being willing to renegotiate your path, you're actually setting yourself up for greater success in the second half of the year. That can not only help support your progress, but it can boost your confidence and it can unlock really valuable potential that you need to have a positive impact on the world. Friend, I hope that you are able to take some time this summer for self reflection and goal recalibration. And I hope that you find these suggestions useful as you do so. Most of all, I would love to hear about your experience and your feedback, what you discovered, and any additional practices that you have found work really well for you. I would love to hear. Also, be sure to check out episode 277, where I talk about my own practice a bit more in depth. And I also share in that episode a resource that I found especially valuable. It is a book by Dana Adams called Live Your Gift. I just reread this book this summer. It is a great way to understand the value of connecting your goals to your core beliefs. I found it super helpful. I think you will too. So I have included a link where you can purchase the book in the show notes for this episode. It's episode 296. Friend, thanks so much for joining me today. I am anxious to hear your feedback on this or any of our episodes. You can share that with me in the contact link that you'll find in the show notes, or you can email me directly at info@shesaid.media. And I'd also be grateful for a quick review in iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you may be listening. In the meantime, thanks again. I'll talk to you soon. And remember, She Said podcast is a production of She Said Media. Take care.